Hello, this is my review of the Glorious Ice. It is a strange pad because I generally love speed pads. Um, Obviously, I'm able to recognize when they have faults. This one I mained for about I think 4 or 5 months. I mean, actually no, it was 4 months. And it was honestly such a bad pad to main because it is insanely fast, which is, like I've said before, a fantastic thing. However, there are, I'd say, two main issues with this pad. Namely, the fact that it is incredibly inconsistent, and that it also requires cleaning about once every week if you want it to be usable. Um, so when I say it's inconsistent, I don't mean it's like the Razer Akari, where it wears down in literally about 6 hours of usage. Okay, I need to calm myself down. Fucking thinking about the Razer Akari makes my blood boil. But this pad is inconsistent in a different way. If it gets warm, or if it gets humid, it becomes significantly slower, which is incredibly difficult, especially when this is a pad marketed around its speed. Um, it is cool to the touch, which is gimmicky, I guess. The stitching's good. It's not an artisan, but it's good. It's better than pretty much everything that isn't an artisan, I'd say. And it's something about this pad that I definitely appreciate. Actually, the one way the stitching on this pad is better than the stitching on the artisans I've tried. Artisan pads have, they sometimes have, like, individual threads fray. For instance, that happens with my Raiden, where there's, like, one or two, fraying threads on, like, the edge of the stitching, and since there are very few threads, it is a tiny bit worrying. With this pad, after 4 solid months of usage, that has not happened anywhere on this thing, which I think is incredibly impressive. Actually, no, there is one spot. So, I rescind that. Granted, there's a lot less fraying in the stitching on this thing than there is on an artisan, which, I hate to say it, that is an area where this pad is really good. Generally, I do not dislike this pad. It's not good, but it is not a pad I hate, because it's not objectively a pad that you should use because of how horribly inconsistent it is, but I have not found anything that can properly replace it in terms of speed, because this thing's around the same speed as a Glorious Helios or a Logitech G440, yet it's a hybrid pad. It's incredible to use when it's cold and when it's not humid. If it's humid or if it's warm, this pad is awful. It's slower than a Glide 19, and it genuinely is almost sickening to use because you can literally, if you're using ceramic mouse feet, you can feel water droplets on your mouse feet. That's not an over-exaggeration. So, yeah, it's a difficult pad. I would honestly say this thing has some of the highest highs out of any pad I've used, but it also has some of the lowest lows. So, because of that, I have to give this thing like a 4.5 out of 10. Yeah, it's real rough, because I do love this thing. I love Glorious as a company, and I really want to love this pad, but it's just impossible to use this thing for long amounts of time because of how inconsistent the surface is. So, I hate to say it, but this is not a pad that you should buy under pretty much any circumstance. On top of all of that, people have also had QC issues where, the pad wears down insanely fast. Personally, I haven't had that. And the only times where it feels slow from anything besides changes in temperature or humidity, I've just been able to wash it and it goes away. So, overall, it's not a good pad, but it's a pad that I like a little bit more than I should, just due to its sheer speed. So, now let me show you guys some Kovacs gameplay of me playing on this thing. God, fucking, I missed the speed of this thing. Holy fuck. Not used to it, definitely, as you can tell, but God, the speed's so nice. The humidity and heat thing only really becomes an issue after about, I'd say, half an hour straight of using this pad. So I can't really show it in just a Kovacs run. So That's a little bit iffy, but the speed is wonderful. And if Glorious were to release a pad like this that didn't have the issues this thing does with humidity and heat, I would main it for the rest of my life. There would literally be nothing that could possibly beat it. But those small, they're not small issues actually. Those issues are so huge that they almost completely ruin the experience of using this pad. So, because of that, I cannot recommend this thing in good faith. And that's the verdict on the Glorious Ice. It's so goddamn close to being the best pad on Earth, but it falls short in the worst way possible. I really want to love this thing. I really, really do, but I just cannot because of how inconsistent it is. So, because of that, it's a 4.5 out of 10 in my book.